Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a new series here on the channel. It's been a little while, been like about 3-4 years, and the last few videos that we've done were F1 videos, league racing, a little bit of career. We're back with Le Mans Ultimate. Fairly new game that came out February time this year, all centered around the World Endurance Championship, or WEC, a multi-class league, multi-class racing series that takes does races across 6 to 24 hours. And this game has its pros and cons. It kind of came out in a bit of an early access, so hasn't quite got all the features there that we want. But we're not going to let that stop us. We're going to create our own career mode. This is one of the features that the devs wanted to bring to the game. We didn't quite have the time and the resource to do so, so we are going to create ourselves. We're going to do all of these races that occurred last year, so the game is based off of the 2023 season, so we've got Sebring, Portimao, Spa, Le Mans, the classic, Monza, Fuji, and then a Bahrain race. And we're just going to do our own little career mode, take these races individually, but gather the points up as a whole and see who comes out at the top at the end of the race at Bahrain. So today we're going to be starting off with Sebring, a very bumpy track. We are going to be driving in the Hypercar class, kind of like the premier class of WEC. And we have all these different cars to choose from. We've got the Cadillacs, Ferraris, Glickenhaus, Peugeot with that wingless design on the rear, Porsche, master classes of endurance racing, Toyota, who've been the dominant force recently, and then Van Wall. And in this series, we're going to take the Ferrari, one of the most beautiful hypercars. I think all the hypercars are beautiful, but the Ferrari in particular, absolutely stunning. Twin turbo V6, 4-wheel drive, hybrid system. So we're going to be driving this number 50 Ferrari AF Corsa. Don't need practice. We're not going to be racing with any P2s to kind of try and simulate what's happening this year. So, like I say, this is based off the 2023 season, so there's some changes from this year to last year. Mainly LMP2 being dropped. We've still got the GTs, so they're regular sports cars. I can go back and show you actually. So you've got like an Aston Martin Vantage, Corvette, Ferrari and Porsche, all classic GT cars. A very similar format is being used this year, but slightly different. We're going to do hour-and-a-half sessions, race sessions. Sebring would probably normally be, I think, like a 12-hour one. There'll be some changes compared to what we would normally have in a real-life race. Just going through it and changing some settings now. So we are here for qualifying in Ferrari. Let's just get straight on our track and we can kind of talk you through what this season is going to be all about. So, like I said, no in Le Mans Ultimate, so we're just going to make it up ourselves. Most races will be an hour and a half with a 15-minute qualifying session beforehand. Normally in real life qualifying would be split between the categories. We're just going to put them all out on track at the same time, kind of increase that jeopardy. And when we come around to do Le Mans, 24-hour race, one of the most famous races in the world, that will be an extended race of maybe like 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. Maybe we'll do like a 2-hour 40-minute race, do it 10 times as short as the real life race. And yeah, we're just going to total up the points as we go along. Like I said, we've only got Hypercar and GT3, so you see we always lose it there on our cold tyres. I've decided to do that just because the 2024 season we don't have LMP2 cars, and because a lot of them have transitioned up to Hypercar, and there are some issues with the game, like I said, it's not in its final state, and the LMP2 cars can cause some issues, especially when it comes around to like pit stops. They can be a bit clunky in the pits, so I thought we'd leave them out. Maybe we'll bring them back for Le Mans. We'll see what the state of the game is by the time we get around to that race. We've got increased fuel usage and tyre usage, just to kind of like simulate those stint lengths that we would normally get in a long race and a short race. So I think we're aiming for about 4 pit stops in the hour and a half, I think. Don't quote me on that, that might change. And we will have weather as a factor. In this race, I don't think we've got any weather, but you know, I'm sure when we come up to like stuff like Spa, Le Mans, Fuji perhaps, we'll have that weather come in and we'll have rain to coincide with. But we are here on board with this lovely Ferrari 499p. Absolute beauty of a car. I really like the sound design as well. I thought you can hear the turbo whine under regen. And it's just absolutely stunning car by Ferrari. Went on to win last year's Le Mans 24-hour race, which on its debut is absolutely incredible. So to give you a little talk around Hypercar and what they are. WEC was in a really poor place a few years ago. They had, the top class was called Ep.1, and they were these incredibly over-engineered machines. You had, you know, Toyota, Audi, Porsche all creating them. 1,000 horsepower, massive amounts of downforce. And teams just decided that they didn't want to spend the money anymore, so you had the likes of Porsche and Audi leave in 2016 and 2017, Toyota being the only team that really stayed. And WEC wanted to change that. They wanted to bring in more teams, more manufacturers, so they created these cheaper rules, and gave manufacturers a big freedom on how to design their car. So, you know, we've got the Toyota and the Ferrari, which are four-wheel drive, hybrid, both using twin-turbo V6s, both with their custom-built hybrid systems. You've got the Peugeot, which is also V6 twin-turbo, four-wheel drive hybrid, but has no rear wing, so it's a very different concept. They generate their downforce all throughout the underfloor, similar to what F1 would do. You have the Glickenhaus and the Vanwall, which are smaller teams, rear-wheel drive only with naturally aspirated V8s. They've gone for, I'm not going to say the simple approach, but the cheaper and easier method to create a hypercar. And then you've got the Cadillac and the Porsche, which are from the American Endurance Racing Championship called IMSA. Now their rule set has always been similar-ish to WEC, but slight differences, which means that they've never been compatible. With the new hypercar rules, IMSA also changed their rules of their GTP category, their top class category, basically so that teams can go to a chassis manufacturer. I think there's 4 that they can choose from, and they can say, build me a car, here are the sort of aero philosophies I want on it, and the you know, cosmetic looks, you deal with the rest. And then they put an engine in. There's a standard hybrid system, rear-wheel drive only, and it means that the cars are able to compete with the cars over in Europe, with the rest of the hypercars. It just meant there's been a massive influx of manufacturers and teams coming into WEC. You know, a few years ago, you only had Toyota, Alpine, and Glickenhaus on the grid. Now in this year's, Le Mans Ultimate, you've got Porsche, Toyota, Ferrari, Glickenhaus, Cadillac, you know, so many world famous brands all competing at the top class of endurance racing. So yeah, as this race goes on, and this qualifying session goes on, we'll try and pump in a good lap. We're not too fussed about where we end up in qualifying. You know, the race is where we score points. As we go through the race, we'll talk to you more about BOP, so balance of performance, how the car's designed, how energy usage works, and like the strategy that's involved in a championship like this. But for now, we're just going to get our heads down and see what we can do on our qualifying laps.
A few moments later.
Oh, as we into the barrier we go, just understeering out onto the curb, and I think that might be the end of our session. So here we are, ready for the race. Let's do some strategy and setup change. So to balance the cars across, different philosophies. So, the hybrid cars would typically go a lot longer than what the naturally aspirated cars would go, or the non-hybrid cars would go. It's virtual fuel usage. Not amount of energy, but it's limited by energy on their stint. So the hybrid cars, even though when we come to pit, we'll probably still have fuel in the tank. Our virtual energy will be done with, and if you carry on past your virtual energy limit, you start to get penalties. And you have to kind of balance off that virtual energy versus fuel ratio. Think give us good grip throughout the start of the race. And I think we're going to go 160 kilopascals of pressure. That should be good. So as we look from standings, our teammate Alessandro Perguidi is on pole. The Peugeots line up behind. Then we've got the Cadillac of Alabama, Dane Cameron in the first for the Porsches, Robert Dumas in the Glickenhaus, Kevin Estra in the other Porsche, Tom Dillman in the Van Wall, and then us. Starting at the back of the Hypercar grid, then we've got the GT field, so you can see the Aston Martins there, having quite a good qualifying session, a big chunk of Porsches here, and then the Ferraris. Further down at the bottom with the Project 1 Porsche, which is also known as Rexy. You'll see why when we come around to lap that guy. It's got a nice dinosaur livery on it. Looks very cool. So yeah, let's just jump straight into the race. I say we didn't have rain in this race. I've just looked at the forecast. We do have rain right at the end, so that. But yeah, let's get right into the race. No standing start. It's a rolling start that happens in the WBC. So you can see we've got the D station, I think it is, Porsche to our left, got the Van Wall over there on our right in front of us, Porsche ahead of us. After that you can see we've got cold tyres to start off with, no tyre warmers in Hypercar, or in any of the wet categories I don't think. And you can see our teammate up ahead in that red Ferrari, ready to start us underway for this hour and a half of Sebring round, this bumpy, character-filled track, one of the best tracks in America, some would argue. Green light, green light, away we go. We're going to take it nice and easy into turn one because we can, as the old saying goes, you can't win it into turn one, but you can definitely lose it. We've got the Porsches being pushed out to the side there. We're going to try and take both of them. We're going to look up the inside of the Van Wall as we get squeezed into this slow and clunky first section. The Toyota number 8 being pushed a bit wide. We've made up 3 positions there. Really good there start from us. As we follow, the Toyota goes very defensive. And then over the bumps, he's just going to close that door, probably enough to stop us making the move around the outside. A bit cheeky there by Buemi cutting across us. Probably should have left us a bit more room there, but that do be the AI for you. Let's see if we can make up some more moves past the Toyota. Let's see if we can start to get onto that leading pack, or at least let Buemi catch up to the leading pack. These hypercars are very difficult to drive on the first few laps. Cold tyres, they're quite heavy and clunky, so you need to take it easy, warm those tyres up, and then you can start to ease into it and push the guys ahead. There we go, nice exit onto the back of the Toyota using the slipstream. It's quite a difficult track to overtake. You see Buemi going defensive right up against the wall. And then this last corner, one of the most challenging corners, I would argue, on most circuits, because you have a nasty bump right in the middle. And it's difficult to get good speed there. You see the Van Wall behind us. Really close, but the Van Wall's quite slow. It's not got very good top speed. It's tried to be balanced out with really good fuel efficiency and quite long on the stint length. but the van wall is pretty much the slowest car. Well, it's definitely the slowest car at every track. Sometimes we can get a good result because of that fuel usage, but we should start to hopefully drop Dillman behind. They seem to be doing quite a good job of staying with us. We don't seem to be the fastest at the moment. Hopefully the tyres and the track will come to us. As you can see, this track is ever so bumpy. It's really difficult to put the power down, really easy to lock up the brakes. Just try and keep our head down and keep with Bermy ahead. He seems to have been dropped by Conway quite a bit, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Oh, just heaps of understeer there. Just turn our brake bias down slightly. If that helps us with some rotation. Just get really tentative through this last corner. But the beauty of these hypercars is that WEC effectively went as long as you hit this downforce and hit this drag level, do what you want. So we have the Toyota ahead, and to an extent us as a quite traditional looking hypercar. I think we're probably a little bit sleeker in design than the Toyota. But then you've got the Peugeot, which has just gone completely the other way, with having no rear wing, which is very unusual on a race car. Generating all their downforce through ground effect, similar to what F1 would do, what F1 does. And at the moment, they seem to be having quite good pace running up in the top 3, I think. I'm a big fan of the Peugeot, but unfortunately that doesn't... This sim pace doesn't translate to their real life pace at the moment. But hopefully, they've just introduced a new car which does have a rear wing, but a very low down rear wing. It's quite a beautiful car, I think. Hopefully, in this season at least, they can start to make their way back up towards the front of the order. Which seems to be at the moment dominated by Porsche. Toyota and Ferrari had quite a good last race out. But the pecking order changed race to race, mainly because of a thing called BOP, which is balance of performance. So, again, because all the cars are very different, their power output, their weight, their stint length energy can all be changed and manipulated race to race to make sure that the pack is very close and that no one races away with having a really quick car. So potentially, you know, if... I don't think this is implemented in the game yet. I think there's a little bit of BOP track to track. But in real life, say if Toyota won the first race by a country mile, they'd have some weight put on, as all the other manufacturers and cars would have weight taken off, power increased, stint length perhaps increased, all to try and reel them into the Toyota a bit further. But at the moment we just do not have an answer for Birmingham. You see the pack ahead. Oh, we're kind of sticking with Birmingham. We don't make mistakes, which we make a lot of. But Birmingham does not have an answer for Conway ahead. Quite surprised. I thought we'd be a bit better placed in this race, on race pace. We'll just have to wait for traffic and the pit stops to come around. As you will see, traffic plays a big part in endurance racing. You know, the time difference between the hypercars and the GT cars is probably like 20 seconds a lap, maybe more, depending on the track. And you can make or break your race depending on how well you get through traffic. You can get caught up, you can easily lose multiple seconds, but then you can gain multiple seconds back. It all depends about how risky you want to be with your overtakes, where you want to make your overtakes. See, we're just adjusting our regen level there. The bar in the middle of our steering wheel shows us our electrical energy. As you can see, it's decreasing quite significantly, so we're just going to reduce the amount of energy we're going to use from the hybrid system. Unlike the Ep.1 cars of old, which had, 800 horsepower produced from the internal combustion engine, and then an extra 200-300 produced from the hybrid system. The combustion engine and the hybrid work in tandem in these hypercars, so we're always producing, I think it's like 600 horsepower maybe it's a bit more. 500 of that can come from the internal combustion engine, 100 can come from the hybrid system. If we increase deployment of the hybrid system, 200 horsepower comes from the hybrid, and 400 comes from the internal combustion engine, so they're working very much in tandem to produce that energy. I must say, I'm quite impressed with Dillman behind. He seems to be keep in touch with us, which I know from other races that I've done, the van wall seems to have quite poor straight line speed. But around Sebring, with straight line speed isn't really the thing that you need, so it seems to be sticking with us quite well. Meanwhile, we are making inroads onto Bohemi. Getting checked up a little bit there. Diving it down the inside, just making it stick. Bit of a rude pass past Bohemi there, but we make it work. And try and catch after the other Toyota ahead of Conley. Or not, as we just absolutely have a mare there and lock up and lose all that ground that we've just made up and a chunk of time. So I may have a potential reasons why we don't really have the pace in this first stint. I think potentially it's because we've overfueled. Now, we started off with 110 litres of fuel, with the thought that if we start off with more fuel, when we get to our pit stop, we'll have to take less on. Which, while that is true, the actual liquid fuel that goes in is not the deciding factor on how quick or slow your pit stop is, it's the virtual energy. So I think, or as we come onto traffic, I'll reignite that thought in a second once we've got past this first wave of traffic. And potential to make up lots of spaces as they go almost 4 wide there. And this is where the beauty of multi-class racing comes into its own. Oh, we've got the Glickenhaus and the Porsche always getting tangled up on GT traffic. Can we make up the position? We've got the Glickenhaus right on our inside. We get squeezed up against the wall. We're going to go around the outside of the Porsche. We just about hang it around the outside. We're going to push him over into the inside. Leaving him enough room though, as we, I think, just make a little bit of contact there. Just side to side. And that is the beauty of multi-class racing. You know, three-way fight through slower cars. And we make up 2 positions, and we've got another 2 ahead of us. Still stuck behind the slower cars where they think they might just make it past. And they might be able to break away a little bit because we're then going to catch them on the next corner. Oh, as we then get slight contact from the Iron Lynx car, Iron Dame's car even, as Sarah Bovey. Luckily no damage occurred. Well, the Porsche get absolutely tank slapped there as he tried to make a move on the tier, I think. So yeah, sorry, where was my train of thought before all that? Oh, the fuel. So I think we're carrying around probably 15-20 litres more than the AI, which might explain why we're quite slow. And unfortunately, because of the way that pit stops work, or at least how they work now, is we're not going to recuperate that time in the pit stops before. The physical fuel that we put in it would be like the time limiting factor. Now it is the energy, or the virtual energy that goes in. That is a part. You see, being called into the pits at the end of this lap. End of our first stint, about 25 minutes stint length. Hopefully we can make it past this Aston. Fourth place Aston Martin there in GTE. You see the cars ahead carving their way through the traffic. Are we going to just about manage to get him on the brakes? A little bit of a clunky pass there, but managed to just squeeze past him by the apex. You see them getting caught up behind the Corvette, Mickey Katzberg. So I'm just going to concentrate as we come into the pits because this car is right where we want to be. Hopefully it doesn't turn in on us, but we're going to take it nice and easy so we don't get turned in on. As the Porsche gets turned in on, we make a cheeky little pit stop overtake, pit lane overtake there. As our pit stop is right up here, behind our teammate of Pierre Guidi. We put 95 litres of fuel in. I think, you know, the stint lengths are about 13 laps. I think that should see us to the next one. We're going to get rid of these tyres. The soft's not feeling excellent. We're going to put the mediums on for the next stint. Hopefully we can double stint these tyres, so it means next time we can just come in for fuel and we can save, what's that, 13 seconds that it takes for the tyres. So 51-second pit stop altogether. Oh, I think we've got a yellow of Richard Dumas has stopped. See the number 11 just behind us on the minimap on the left hand side is having an absolute mare there. And are we about to get out? Have we just pulled a blinder? The Toyota number 8 of Buemi, okay. Did all of them guys have damage, perhaps? Perhaps they all had damage, because they're quite far behind us. Like Pierre Guidi should have come out well ahead of us. Was Buemi the Toyota that we overtook on the last lap? If we got cold tyres, we've got to be careful there not to crash. Wow, what? First pit stop's absolutely flipping this race on its head. We've got a few cars, I think 3 cars that haven't pitted yet. Or have they? Luke Duval? I think Luke Duval has pitted. He was one of the Peugeots on the podium, or at least in the top 5. And he wouldn't be 20 seconds And, he was probably 20 seconds ahead of us before the pit stops. So I reckon all those cars that we overtook, our teammate Pierre Guidi, the Cadillac and Peugeot behind the Bamba and the Resta, I think they had... Oh, sorry, where was I? Because that was having PC issues with storage. So yeah, I think the other cars ahead of us must have got tangled up in some AI shenanigans, either with themselves or with the backmarkers. It has meant that we've been able to jump up to effective P3 maybe? There is a yellow. Don't know what this is for. Ah, there is Dumar. Oh, but when we take it very cautiously there through the yellow flag, he's going to try and cut us off. When we go to the outside, is he going to give us enough room? He does. Interesting. As we just cut him off on the apex going back. He's very cautious through that yellow flag zone for the stricken Glickenhaus. We make it our way up into P2. What an excellent turnaround here. You've got Duval 22 seconds ahead, and we've got Toyota coming back at us. Doesn't want to risk the overtake into this slow first sector. So wow, this is, yeah, race tipped on its head. Ooh, that's tight. So we should be fine as we come into the pits. No change on tyres this time. We're going to put in 5 litres less of fuel. Not that that will really affect us, because it's virtual energy that is the time consumer here. And that was a nice little stint from us. 40 seconds fuel off of virtual energy. Got DeResta who should be coming in as well. Would think Buemi and Conway. I think quite a lot of drivers I think have tried to extend. We've got DeResta going for another lap. And Buemi and Conway, wow. Wow, that is very interesting. Top 5 who continue on for another lap. As we finally get the go-ahead. Wow, everyone's going on for another lap. That's Duval going past us. So Duval is in the race, effective race lead. Oh, and finally the Glickenhaus of Robert Dumar DNFs. 15 laps down. Right, there we go, we got the starts of the pit stops now. And it's just started drizzling, so what if those AI are smart? They might put wet weather tyres on. Whereas me and Duval are out here. Well, he's potentially on new softs. So I think the AI only like to go on softs unless it's raining. And me on old mediums. Yeah, this is interesting. This is very slow, but just generate no tyre temperature. Do a lot of flash up ahead of the headlights. Oh, we're just so slow in the slow seat stuff. We're just getting re-overtaken by the GT car there. Oh, just no grip understeering. Not being able to slow the car down. Oh, big lock up there as we go straight on. Oh, we've had an absolute mare. Keep it out the barrier. I think we roll the dice. You know, in the wet we should use less energy. I think we come into pit now, put in, you know, a full stint of fuel, well, full stint of virtual energy, about 90 laps of race fuel, put on wets, and we gamble. Because I think at the moment we're going to crash out if we keep on these tyres. We need to make another pit stop anyway. I think now's the best time to do so. Damp track, it's only going to get wetter. So I think, let's go for it. Let's roll the dice. Perhaps we should have put more pressure on the tyres to get them up to temperature quicker. Oh, just painfully slowing the slow speed stuff. You know, the GT cars have a lot more mechanical grip than that slow speed stuff. They're just as quick as, if not quicker, as we've gone wide there. Keep out the barrier. What a nightmare there. These tyres just not firing up for us. So we almost just lose it there. Complete opposite lock. Wow. These tyres are not working for us at the moment. But I think they are the right tyres to be on. It's just a shame we've lost all that time. You see, we fly past the number 8 behind me there. Let's see if we can catch back up. I think definitely should have put some more pressure in these tyres. Another thing that I've not really touched on so far is that you can change the amount of deployment, the amount of regen in your hybrid system. And we were at 100% battery capacity, or energy stored, which was not good for us. Neither was that corner. Really poor visibility. With the Ferrari being kicked up. If you can get... There's one. There's two. We might get this third one. Nope. Just gonna have to stick behind. Bide our time. I think in the fast speed stuff, we're gaining. As in the slow speed stuff where we're losing out quite a lot of time. Also kind of makes sense. The Peugeot, there's slightly different rules on when it can deploy energy. So again, something I've not really touched on so far is that for the Ferrari and the Toyota, well, actually let's start off with the Porsche and the Cadillac. Porsche and the Cadillac have that standard hybrid system that all LMDH cars have, or any car that comes from the American series has it. That's quite a small capacity and can be deployed at any time. So as soon as you come off the corner it can be deployed. Just adds... Oh, as we lose it there! Too busy concentrating on what we're saying and not on the road ahead. Wait for these cars to go past. I really don't want it to get damage. Hopefully that's not ruined our chance of a second place. That was close. The end of this race is going to give me a heart attack. think this will probably be our last lap. The rest are 3 seconds behind. Let's try and keep it that way. As we've had a terrible lock up there. Just a 1.5. This is the corner I'm really worried about. Brake nice and early. Even though we broke nice and early, we still go deep enough to turn this boat of a car in the slow speed section. 1 second. Can we hold on for this podium position? We do not have the confidence in this car at the moment. Time has hit 0. And Deval comes through to win the race. Still, there's the last sector to go for us. With the rest right behind us, 0.7 seconds. 2 more important braking zones. Just take it nice and easy. We've got the straight line of speed on him, there's no need to panic. Although we go out wide, he gets a bit of a tank stopper anyway. We drag down this last straight. A second gap. Let's go nice and easy. This is a difficult corner at the best of times, especially high pressure last lap in the wet, no grip. But we hold on, and that is a beautiful second place out of absolutely nowhere. Now, why has anything just changed? Last lap changes. Wow. Okay, so Bamber is actually 4th. Buemi in the first of the Toyotas is 5th. Tom Dillman falls down to 6th. Dane Cameron, first of the Porsches, in 7th. Mike Conway, the other Toyota, in 8th. In 9th, and then Pierre Guidi, our teammate, in 10th, with the third Robert Roman Dumar down in 23rd, 32 laps down, retiring after going 15 laps down.